All right, guys. Hey, thanks for joining us again on Litecoin Underground. Today, we're going to have some of the guys in from CakePay, both Justin and Skylent, who does social media for them, just kind of catch up on what's been going on. As you guys know, I always call them, they're the official wallet of the Litecoin Underground. And I've shown you some of the cool things they can do. And there's a lot more that even I'm not even up to speed on. So I'm hoping they can kind of update us on what's been happening with Cake and all the great things they're going to bring to Litecoin. So, Justin Ehrenhofer, I've spoken to you before. Let me figure out how to do this. Bam. And you're just Skylent. So Skylent kind of like Madonna, right? All right. Okay. So yeah, I thought it might make sense to just kind of catch people up a little bit, maybe do like a past, present, and future type of thing. And one of the things off the bat that I don't know if this is something you guys have a canned answer for or that would be easy for you to access. We talked a lot about in Twitter. We had a long Twitter Spaces last night. As you guys know, we do them every week. And we talked a lot about culture and like the community of Litecoin and the communities of these different coins and kind of what are the identities that they are. What do you guys, do you have that like, does Cake have an ethos or a culture that you guys are aiming at?
I'll start with that one, and Skylent can give his own opinion as well. But
Yeah.
from my perspective, absolutely. You know, I think Cake Wallets and CakePay have extremely different attitudes to the cryptocurrency space than the broader market. Cake Wallet started in 2017. The development started in 2017, launched in 2018. And so that's at this point considered old for crypto. At the time,
Yep.
it felt like we were late. But
Yep.
that's old by today's standards. And it was started as a hobby project. It wasn't started as something that was trying to raise VC money and get off the grounds and get a lot of users. It was created because Vic wanted a Monero wallet for himself and saw that there wasn't one for iOS and decided just to build it. And there was no monetization plan at all for the first release of the application. And it's grown since then. Of course, now we support Litecoin. It's no longer just on iOS. We're excited that it's on other platforms now like Linux and Mac OS as well for desktop, which is new for us. But yeah, we don't have any outside investors. We're not trying to chase just the next big trend for people that are hopping from here and there. Cake Wallet is going to continue to build a solid project, and it's going to continue to make things that people want to reliably use. And I think that's very, very different than most other wallets and other cryptocurrency projects out there. And also, it allows us to really focus on the transactional nature, where we can say, for a very long time horizon, what people are and want to use cryptocurrency actually for. And we can take the time to build products and being able to invest in those things for end users. And we don't need to, chase adding Pepe coin or something just because that's what has blown up on this month's socials. So it definitely puts us, in my opinion, at least, in a very different camp, and we're able to really focus again on a very long time horizon and consistently on things like privacy and security and the like. So I consider our culture actually extremely different than most other cryptocurrency companies.
In it for the long haul. Yeah. That's definitely one of the struggles in crypto is when you start getting people who are taking investments like that they need to show some sort of profit. And it just distorts their incentives, and that's why I think I've always liked about you guys. And it's funny because I remember we had a Spaces. I'm talking one of the first ones, and Johnny Litecoin was in there, and he was talking about certain wallets, and I was like, I don't know really what the difference is, right? Like, what do I care if I'm using Light Wallet or Cake Wallet or Edge Wallet? There's just so many of them, and what are the variances? And I do think one of the reasons I've liked Cake from the beginning is the interfaces. You seem to be very focused on like making it as simple as possible to use, and there's attention paid to like the aesthetics of it and the layout. And I think that's as silly as that may seem when you're talking about your money. It does matter when you're on the go. You're like, I don't want to be scrambling to find things in my wallet. So yeah. So Skylent, I don't want to cut you off. Now you can give the opposite. Justin's the old school. You can talk some crap about what you thought about when you came on.
Sure. So for the most part, coming from an NFT background, I knew that there was a particular culture with crypto. I didn't realize that there was multiple subcultures already developing, like you see in music, from punk and goth and stuff like that. So you have, your NFT crowd and stuff, but also individually for the coins that people actually use. And so that's Cake Wallet's thing, is the wallet you use. It's not just for hodling. So you do have like your Bitcoin like hodlers, you have your Monero like elitists, and then of course Litecoin and such. So as I've developed the social media for here, I've actually seen the people and their words and how they actually utilize these coins. That's exciting, because crypto for the longest time has been like what it could be. But now it's, here's a wallet that you can actually buy gift cards. Here's a wallet that you can use your Litecoin to do whatever you want with it, or, more and more so. And that's really exciting. So, but there is definitely a unique culture with Cake. And then Cake understands that there's a unique culture, subcultures between the different coins and these different people. And those are ever evolving. So it's a little silly. It's dramatic, especially right now with meme coins, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. I guess real quick, I want to say to your point, because I think it was very important. What's the difference between Litecoin wallets? They all seem to be kind of the same, right? As the initial approach. And I think that's extremely fair, because walking in, Litecoin is usually just kind of thrown in a long list of other, other assets in a multi-asset wallet list. And so, okay, well, do I care about using this wallet that has Litecoin in this transaction list next to Bitcoin and next to Ethereum? Or do I use this one that also puts it next to Bitcoin and next to Ethereum? And they're all kind of the same, where you have your view investment button and the trade button. With Cake Wallet, it's I'm in my Litecoin wallet and I don't see anything else, right? You are entirely put in your little world that's entirely focused on the Litecoin experience. And yes, you can still exchange in the like, but it allows us to free up every other aspect of the UI to make it about what a Litecoin user actually wants, not just what a generic crypto user who uses Litecoin as one of their investments sometimes, So it is very different.
Do you have different, I guess I haven't really done enough of a deep dive. I've used probably all three on your app: Bitcoin, Litecoin, Monero, and then I know you have Haven or something. Sorry, I'm not including that right now. But I don't know, is there a difference in the layout or like between each of those assets, or is it basically the same with some tweaks?
Go ahead, Skylent.
Okay, yeah, sure. So it's effectively the same. It's just that in maybe potentially other apps, there would be a lot of noise or a lot of options immediately everywhere. But keep it as simple as possible. Each wallet is its own crypto. You just jump in and then it's totally focused on that. So it is identical. So if you do want to use another wallet, easy to do. But yeah, once you're in Litecoin, once you're in Monero, whatever, then yeah, that's what you're doing.
Okay, yeah. I figured it was, but there might be some. I just want to make sure you weren't giving anybody other options that you're not giving us,
I see how it is.
So, yeah, I got to look out for my people. But well, anyway, so you've been growing. I mean, you've been around, like you said. You're kind of a dinosaur in the crypto space as it is right now. So present day, you've had Cake Pay. What'd you launch? Has it been about a year, 9 months, maybe?
We first launched the mobile version in August, I believe.
Okay, so yeah, 8 months or so. So I mean, has it been pretty wild growth up to this point? Better than you expected? Worse?
Yeah, so mobile grew very quickly, and then we added our web platform, and I think that allowed us to continue growing even more. Our ultimate goal is to bring these two together so that everything that's on the web is also available in the app. And so we've taken some steps for that specifically, but it's clear to us that people find purchasing gift cards as a very convenient way to sell their cryptocurrency in order to live off of it. And there are just fewer hoops to jump through for getting a gift card than there is to make an exchange account. And a lot of people really enjoy those advantages. And then oftentimes, as you've probably seen on the mobile side, we also are able to also offer discounts. So now you don't need to worry about, your transfer to an exchange taking a whole day for them to recognize, and then another bank transfer take 5 days off the exchange into your account, and you pay a conversion fee on the exchange. We find it really easy to just give the person a direct Kraken exchange rate. So there are no additional spreads on that. And you can just get the card in a few seconds. So it definitely helps people adopt cryptocurrencies. I was actually surprised at how quickly people in the UK and in the rest of Europe have adopted this actually pretty considerably. I think they just have fewer exchange options there than the United States. But yeah, it's been very cool to see.
Yeah, it looks like when I look at my podcast isn't super popular, right? But when I look at who's listening, Europe is surprisingly strong adoption of crypto. It seems. I mean, obviously the U.S. We are in the U.S. and we talk about the U.S. We seem to be crypto is very U.S. centric right now, but Europe and Asia obviously are coming on. So is it available in just Europe and the U.S. or have you expanded beyond that? Worldwide?
Beyond that, yep. Almost every country you can buy at least one product with CakePay. CakePay on the phone only US, but ever on the web platform, almost every country has at least one card.
Okay, that's cool. Have you had any like growing pains, like stuff that you
Yes.
didn't expect? You're like, oh, this is way worse than I thought, or something unexpected.
Yes. So when you are the first at doing some of this stuff, so you have to remember, we're a very technical focused company. For us, a lot of things to us are solved problems. Like sending money is to us a solved problem. You can just send a stable coin and it's there, right?
Mm-hmm.
It should be a solved problem. But when you're using gift cards, these brands need to ultimately end up with dollars in their account or euros or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And the process of what they're willing to accept and the agreements they enter into and the money you need to front them in advance. And it becomes a complete headache. And they're built on top of what a lot of people don't understand too is, when we offer a brand, it doesn't mean that we built a direct integration with that particular brand's dev team. What it means is that brand typically pays for some gift card service from a gift card service provider who then maintains technology. You'd think they'd be very good at their job, but it is an absolute headache. And it ends up simplifying some things, but actually making different aspects worse and less reliable. So it's been a real headache, and transferring of money is actually one of the hardest problems. I think I'm not going to say how much we have to pre-fund for these things to work and the annoyances we have to jump through, but they're very considerable. And there's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes to make these relationships work.
Yeah. You have a lot of interested parties. Well, and another thing I'd kind of written down here, it might be a better question for Skylent since you're new to. I don't know if you're new to social media management, but you're new to the Cake social media management. You mentioned the varying cultures that have existed. So I'm wondering, do you grasp any information about? I know you want to allow people to have their privacy, but do you get statistics or an understanding of what your users are actually buying, what types of things they buy, and do different communities buy different? Like, are they more interested in certain cards? I mean, I don't know if you want to reveal that. I don't know if there's interest in that, and how do you cater to people's desires, I guess?
We actually haven't discussed those statistics yet.
Okay.
We've started presenting statistics recently, but overall, maybe Justin, if you do have those statistics, you could just say them. But so far, we haven't.
The ones that look really bad for Litecoin, is that the ones you're talking about?
Maybe. Or it's like, yes, 5% of our sales are in Litecoin or whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, that's something I've brought up in spaces a lot. I've often said to the community, like, that using the tools that are presented to you, sometimes there may be a bit of a cosplay to it, right? You're kind of like, well, I could use dollars, but you know what? I want to support and show that I want to use Litecoin and certainly reward the companies that are adopting Litecoin. Because if you don't, then why is the next person going to use Litecoin or adopt Litecoin, right? And particularly now, the Litecoin card got turned off in the U.S.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, and I don't think it came back on. It was something with the bank that they were using as of May 1st, basically shut off or said, like, we don't want to do this anymore. So they're seeking out a new bank, which is a perfect opportunity for CakePay. You know, that's something I think, whether it's, like I said, whether it's an absolute necessary for you or not, just to show some support to Cake Wallet. Hey, they're out here adopting 3 coins and we're one of them. Go show the support, right? I think that's a really important aspect. But is it 5%? 5% of sales, dollar sales, transactions?
Skylent can look up for the previous month. We haven't run the numbers for May yet, although I'm actually inclined to at least think that for Litecoin, the numbers are up for this next month because fees in Bitcoin really exploded in the last month. So I think that they are likely down, unless people are buying like $1,000 cards or something and didn't care. But if you bought $20 to send a Bitcoin transaction, but typically when you see high Bitcoin fees, people will switch to use Litecoin as their preferred exchange option in the wallet. In fact, we probably should just have a notice we have some people that a lot of support tickets in this last month saying, why is it so expensive to exchange? And we ask what they're exchanging, and it's always Bitcoin on the side. And they're like, why is the fee over this? It's because the exchange needs to send you a Bitcoin transaction, and there's a network fee associated with that. So that's part of the fee, right? And so we definitely have seen in the last month more people trade as using Litecoin on one of the sides because it's just available everywhere and it's cheap. It's 2 main competitive advantages, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. I know I started kind of talking about NFTs. We had these guys come in a couple weeks ago. Danny Yep. I don't know how to pronounce his name. He runs the On-Chain Monkeys thing. And they were doing a giveaway, and it was like, you have to have 0.08 Bitcoin in your wallet. And I don't own Bitcoin. So I pulled some Litecoin into Cake, swapped it into Bitcoin, and sent it out. And it took so freaking long. I was like, this is ridiculous. I don't know how people function on it, because I had to make an exchange, a move in and a swap. And then from, I think, Coinbase, I had to top it off with like $10 or something. I spent like $20 some in fees for those 3 transactions, and it took me 40 minutes. And I was like, I can't operate like this. I've been so spoiled using Litecoin that I don't even think about fees. Like, I buy those gift cards. I didn't even realize there's a transaction fee included in that, because it's 1/10 of a penny, right? So I'm interested, though, in the swapping. Like, if people are, because in order to make a swap, you got to pay a fee too, right? So it's almost like Litecoin can be your kind of Lightning network. If you want to look at, like, for people who are Bitcoiners, to say, I'll just move whatever amount you were going to move into Lightning, move it onto Litecoin and use it that way. It's actually probably cheaper to use Litecoin than the Lightning network, honestly. But yeah, I don't know. It's a story I tell because I have been so detached from Bitcoin. I just don't know how people are functioning on it. I know it's your big customer, and I'm trying to insult Bitcoin. I'm just saying it's surprising to me that people are putting up with it so long.
I mean, that's the reason we added Litecoin in the first place, though. I mean, Monero first for us in Cake Wallet, then we added Bitcoin, and very shortly after we added Litecoin, because we realized that there are going to be times where Bitcoin is going to get a lot of congestion, and we saw these in the last month. And when that happens, people who are trying to buy $100 or so of cryptocurrency are going to look at the rates and say, what is going on? And at least now we can say, hey, buy Litecoin instead if you're only trying to buy a small amount, so you're not losing all of it to a network fee. And it's very important from us for user experience to have Litecoin for that reason, because these type of, Bitcoin has a complicated fee market, and so you're going to have times where it's expensive, and not everyone can just avoid using crypto when Bitcoin has expensive fees. They can just use Litecoin instead. And you definitely saw this in the Litecoin community as people were making more transactions in the last month. Mm-hmm. It's definitely become more commonly used. So yeah, we understood that from the beginning, which is the entire reason why Litecoin is in Cakewall, is because we know that there's a legitimate reason for people to use it, and it's also supported everywhere. So it's if you could buy Bitcoin, you can also buy Litecoin.
Yep. Yeah, that's it. It is nice. It's nice for us Litecoiners to see this play out in real time, because we a lot of times are hypothetically speaking, well, when Bitcoin fills up, this is what's going to happen. And when that doesn't happen for like a year and a half, you start going, I think that's still the case, but I don't know. So to see it actually play out that way is like, okay, I'm not crazy. But I do want to talk about one other thing, because this is actually something I talked to you about last summer. Me and Shan were like, we felt one of the big barriers in adoption is people who are used to accepting cash for payment, like people who are contractors and, mow lawns or painters and stuff like that are in that world. We thought, could there be a way to cut an invoice or something like that? And I think that's what this Trocador app is, right? And I'm going to try to pull it up if you want to wait a second here. I don't know anything about Trocador, so I'm going in. I don't know if this is going to be helpful for me to pull this up or not. You tell me. Let me see if I can do it this way. Can you see it? Can you see it there? All right.
We can, yeah.
So what exactly does Trocador enable, and how is Cake involved with it?
Skylent, do you want to take this one, and you can walk them through the non-pay portion of the Trocador's offering?
Sure. This is actually something that I'm going to be utilizing pretty soon. Have an uncle who digs wells, made his website. He's like, how do I pay you? And I'm like, this is a great opportunity to do this. This is exactly what it sounds like. It's you can trade cryptocurrency. You can create invoices just like you would any other invoice creation app. From what I've used with freelancing, it's like it's so easy. It takes literal seconds to make an invoice.
Would it be easier if you were sharing the screen and you could navigate instead of me, since I'm a noob? Or not? I mean, it's up to you.
I think if Justin wants to go into the technicalities, then maybe it would be best if he shared. But overall, it's just like you press a couple buttons and you immediately can say, hey, I want you to pay this amount of money in Monero. And then it sends them the email or the invite. Easy.
So I'm looking for, is this the Anon Pay you're talking about?
Yeah, so click on Anon Pay. That's what we incorporated in the receive
Make
screen.
this a little larger. Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. Because I did just see this today on the app. Let me pull up my Cake wallet. I tried. I had you guys last week. I got to tell you this. I've been doing this thing with it's like a news show, an internet news show, Christy Lee. And I was sending her some Litecoin, and I had her download Cake Wallet, and I was like, I'll send it to you on the air. And she's like, okay, cool. She pulled it up, and like her camera focus was all jacked up, so I couldn't do the QR code. I was like, damn. But I copied and pasted and all that. But your Cake Wallet was featured in there in a blurry way. You guys had your thing.
That's the best word of mouth.
Yeah.
Blurry QR codes.
Hey, you know what? I don't care. So I saw this, receive, and then I can kind of demand a specific amount. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, so we did a few things. So, you're looking just at the Cake Wallet receive screen, which my phone's going to blur out. Cake Wallet receive screen.
Yeah, here.
One thing we did is we put that drop down button next to the Litecoin button.
Here, let me pull me up here.
There you go. So there's that drop down. You can click on the LTC wording.
Yep.
And you can change it to a fiat currency. So you can say like USD, for example.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I don't want to. How is that not top of the list? Come on, man. All right. So I clicked USD.
Yeah.
Right.
And you can type in like $100, for example.
Okay.
So now if you were just, in person and you wanted to receive an invoice from someone next to you, now they could scan the QR code and it would be for $100 worth of Litecoin. Or if you click the share button, it would be for a $100 worth of Litecoin as well. So that's the first change. But
Shares
also
in the upper right-hand corner there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now that's not anchored to $100 permanently. It's just at that time it's worth $100. But also at the top of Cake Wallet, there's an arrow by the receive button as well. Do you see that?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and that's where we bake these advanced invoice features in. Yep. And so you can see there's two options there. There's the Anon Pay invoice and the Anon Pay donation link. So for the first one, the invoice, that's perfect for if you need to be paid, again, either a certain amount of Litecoin or a certain amount a fiat, but then the fiat floats. So if you want to be paid $100, for example, in Litecoin, you can just set change from LTC to USD, type in $100. You can even provide a notification email to say, when this invoice is paid, I would like to receive an email saying it was paid. And you can also put like your name and description in there. And that way you're able to keep track of multiple payments at a time. Or alternatively, you could click on the donation link one, and it would be a reusable donation link. And every time someone would donate, your funds would appear in Litecoin in that wallet. And then the other cool thing is that the payer can pay in any currency they want. So they could pay, for example, in Monero, but then you'll receive funds in your Litecoin wallet in LTC yourself. So it does that conversion. Or if they just pay you with Litecoin directly, then there's no exchange at all, and you just receive the same Litecoin directly from the person. So there's no additional network fee either. So,
gotcha. So what's the optional payee notification? What do I type in there?
So I think it's an email. So I think we need to make the text a little bit smaller. God, it's just blurs too much in mine. Let me turn off the blur. I'm
going to send it to you. Are you just? I don't. Never mind. I'll put your email address here.
Optional pay notification email, but we need to clearly optimize it for smaller text.
Yeah. So then I would just type in your email address, and it would send you this invoice.
No, so you would send me the link. So it says create invoice. You'll get a link to send me. So then you can email it to me, for example. But that email you type in there, you would put in your own email so that you would get an email when the invoice is paid.
So I create the invoice. Status. Okay, ClearNet link or Onion link. What is?
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. So then I hit share. Right?
Yep.
And then I send it to your email.
Yeah, you can send it to my email.
All right. I don't want to get too in the weeds on this, but and then okay. I'm going to do this because I don't need to do it right now, but I might do it even just as a demo to myself, and I'll post some pictures on Twitter of it, or maybe do like a short video after this because I think that's very cool. Has that gotten a lot of adoption? Or I mean, it's pretty new, right? You've only had it for a couple months.
We've only had it for a couple months, and actually, I haven't actually looked at how many people have used it yet. I haven't looked that up.
Yeah, to me, that's we talk again a lot in our philosophically whatever. To me, the merchant is ultimately the person who's kind of that adopter of last resort, and when you get adoption from merchants, that's when we start to create that circular economy. So that's the next step that we're gonna have to take in the next 3 to 5 years or something. So, or maybe sooner if you guys are building these tools. Is there anything else on here you want me to go through, or should I close this down, this Trocador?
I think we're good there. We did incorporate them as well for the exchange functions so that they're just an exchange aggregator. So typically you will still continue to trade through some other partners in the exchange, but we have designed it basically so that each provider competes against other providers when you have a quote typed in there so that they compete on price. And then we pick the cheapest one among all the prices that come in. So they provide a quote and you will trade through their service if they have the cheapest price. Otherwise, you'll continue to use the other providers. But the big thing that they provided that was unique was a non-pay aspect where you can create invoices, create donation links, and you don't need to set up your own server to do tracking of multiple invoices at once.
Okay. So it might be something that maybe you don't quite know what you've got yet, right? Like you don't quite know what your users are going to want to use this for yet. So sometimes you have to wait and see. So
yeah, this is one that we definitely knew was a kind of stab in the dark. Unsure if people are going to use it. Definitely meant to be an advanced feature, which is why it's not aggressively thrown in your face. But ultimately, we're really excited to see what people use it for.
Yeah, I like it. All right. Well, let's take a left turn. And one other one, Bird Pay. You wanted to talk about Bird Pay. And I'm going to blend Bird Pay into the next thing we're going to talk about. So I've got a story for you already. I used BirdPay, or I've received BirdPay money, I think. Something like that. What's going on? How does it work?
I'll try to pull it up while we talk about it, but it's like by the time I pull it up, it's like it's done. It's just so easy.
Yeah,
It's
you
been
can
hard to
send me
make
money right
videos
now
on
if
it.
you want. I have it set up, so it's in my, I think in my bio. For anybody who doesn't really know what it is, essentially you can put your Bitcoin, Litecoin, or Monero address in your bio or your pinned tweet, and inside the app, somebody else can send you money just by using your instead of an actual address.
Yes. Yeah, and all you do is you just type in that whatever is in the bio, just whatever the username is, and then that's it. It just works.
There's nothing else to it. So what's the big advantage? Do you think the big advantage of using that as opposed to an address is just purely just convenience? Do you see people using it more because of that? Like what's the, that way I don't have to keep a bunch of addresses on file somewhere?
I think a main integration was it was because like Twitter uniquely, other than like Facebook or something like that, has an economy of people like crypto on Twitter. So it's very popular, very useful. Most people have like their names or simple tags on Twitter, so it's just at blank. So overall, just really obvious integration there.
Mm-hmm. That's why I put this on my screen so people pay me. Well, I have one more question for you, because I know, like, I think it's great what you're doing. I'm not trying to say anything bad about it, but my Doge wallet at one point in time had where you could, like, in the comments say, tip this person. Is that something that would be possible now with this integration, or should I not bring that up and just erase this part of the interview?
No, it's fine. It's not a technical challenge, it's a regulatory challenge.
Okay.
The regulatory challenge is we can't hold and send crypto for people because we don't want to take on that responsibility.
Okay.
But if you send a tip, but it doesn't actually go to them, it's just a link to someone else to click to redeem somewhere. It's really complicated to try and do that in a non-custodial way, or where they have to talk to your wallet, and then your wallet is online as well, a hot online wallet that then approves a certain transaction.
Gotcha.
It's a challenge that we haven't wanted to take on right now.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm kind of curious. I used that a couple times. I thought it was very cool, but I did notice that it isn't happening as much, and maybe they started to run into some issues with that.
Most tip bots historically have been custodial, so you'll send money somewhere, and they hold your crypto for you, and then you will send tips, and people can click to redeem through their service and stuff. But the downside certainly is that someone else is holding your crypto, and we don't really want to be ones that hold your crypto.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's probably not worth the trade-off in the long run of just opening a wallet and typing the address. Is just as simple, right? Well, the story I was going to tell you, and it ties into hopefully what we're going to see in the future, is so Vic, he was like, hey, put your address in your pinned tweet. And at first I was like, man, I don't have room. So I went and cleaned it up, and finally I did it. And I was like, all right, it's up there, but you really don't have to send me any money. It's fine. It's not a big deal. And he's like, okay, I won't. So whatever, that was like a month ago. And then, you guys are sponsoring the thing. And so I was like, hey, he's like, well, can I send you the sponsorship via BirdPay? And I was like, yeah, but don't, I don't really want it to be public, I don't like that. And then I said, in reality, Litecoin's a public thing, so maybe not. Maybe we shouldn't do it that way, which is what makes me so anxious to get MWeb up and running, because the idea that there's an address out there that, people aren't conscious of the fact, and I know this speaks right to your Monero world, that all your money's coming in can be blended, and then you start to see where these addresses are attached to each other. There can be some very amateur snooping going on of what you're doing with your money, right? And certainly that's not something we want. I know there's been some development on mobile MWeb from the foundation. It isn't quite live, but it sounds like it's within the next month or two. We'll see it. Have you guys had any communication with the foundation about mobile MWeb?
Following David's posts, it seems like development has been pretty slow the last few months since the Litecoin Foundation or Litecoin conference where we met up most recently. I think realistically it's going to be, I mean, at the current rate, it seems like it's going to be a year before they have some other sort of like SDK thing available. Progress generally seems to be pretty slow because as far as I can tell, it's only him working on it.
Right. Yeah. What's SDK? Sorry, I'm not a computer guy.
Sure, it's short for software development kit, but that's not really important to dig into further. More like you have the core like official Litecoin C. It's written in something called C++. That's what the main code is, and that's where the main node software and wallet software and stuff exists. And then people build different layers on top of it, which usually try to provide either convenience. They make some of the functions more streamlined. Sometimes the intent is to make it more, add more features sometimes as well. But with Cake Wallet, we're written in Flutter, so we actually use a Flutter library that is built to specifically work with Litecoin. And so if we were to expand that to cover MWeb as well, we need basically the core foundation on the C++ side, the official consensus code related things to be pretty solid. And then from there, you can start building on top of it. And it seems like there's still work on different ways to build out from the ground up. So it doesn't surprise me that at the current stage, there aren't anyone, or it isn't anyone I'm aware of at least, that is really building anything for MWeb because it's I don't know, I guess currently there seems like there's limited demand. It also seems like it would be, more than 6 months of full-time progress to build out a way to plug it into a wallet or something like that. So I think largely there just hasn't been enough demand for it.
Well, yeah, and that's the whole Electrum wallet versus, with the core, obviously, it's there. I know we just saw an exchange it was like a DeFi exchange where you can use MWeb there. So that's exciting. I think with like a desktop bit refill, you can send MWeb coins. But again, they get pegged out, so it kind of becomes a little vague in that sense, like who's doing the pegging in and the pegging out. Anyway, the other big, other future, I guess we'll talk about instead of MWeb this is maybe more Skylent, your world with NFTs and inscriptions and ordinals. Where do you guys fall on this topic? Like, is it something you want to start to embrace? Are you gonna follow the demand, or are you gonna kind of stick to, look, we're just a wallet for money and that's it? What do you got now? View transaction at early ordies. Hold on, isn't that a Litecoin thing? Well, you're muted.
Sorry, it is a Litecoin thing.
All right, how does that work now? I don't own. I do own an inscription, or I accidentally sent an inscription to my Cake wallet.
So
and I think it's gone. And if somebody out there owns the Litecoin Underground badge somewhere, but it's gone. So how does that work? Is this something that's in development, or are you showing me that I can do it right now?
I don't know if you have an ordinal in your wallet right now, but you can do it right now in Cake.
No, I don't.
I wish I could demo this, but just under send, you can click coin control, and then you can click on a specific address, like a specific output, and it allows you to click the button to look up that output on early ordies, which is, to people who are unaware, the one of the block explorers that provides ordinal data for Litecoin.
I don't have to
Skylent. You can add as much other context on ordinals or whatever, or NFTs as you want there as well.
I don't have to turn on coin controls or anything like that.
No, it's enabled by default. It's just in the send screen, it's right under estimate fee. Most people will probably just skip over it most of the time because typically most people don't use the feature.
Well, I'm not seeing it. Estimated fee. There's new template.
Oh, maybe with big font, can you try scrolling down on like the...
Oh, yeah. See, look at that. That's funny.
Yeah.
Are you saying I got to shrink the font because I'm?
No, it means we need to do better font scaling is what it means.
Oh, interesting. So I can click on a specific one. Oh, here we go. View transaction. It says view transaction on early orders, and I can freeze it. Now there might not be any transaction there. Wait, it is. Hang on a minute.
Is there a picture there as well?
No. Nothing. 1 input, 3 outputs. I don't think I've got it. I don't know what I'm looking at. It could be anything, right? Does every address, does every UTXO have that as an option?
Yes, but it doesn't mean that there's an ordinal associated with it. Yeah. So if you, it'll go to the site, it'll show you the TXID on the site, but it doesn't mean it won't show you a picture unless there's actually an ordinal associated with it.
Gotcha. No, that's cool. So then you can freeze it so that you don't accidentally spend your. Well, all right. I mean, okay.
Right. Yep.
You added this option because people wanted it. What do you feel about it though? Like, how do you think this is? Just personally, I mean, you can opine unless you don't want to offend anybody. Skylent, you're the NFT guy. I don't want to put Justin on the spot for everything.
Sure. So not all NFTs or inscriptions are the same. An example would be recently they tried to put ordinals on Monero, kind of counter ethos to specifically Monero. However, I think that people do want to trade their cards. They want these pictures and they want to have just show them off or, to trade them, hodl them, whatever. But there's so many different use cases. And then how they're actually put and how they are used in these different coins is drastically different experiences, like with Bitcoin, transfers and everything, especially Monero. It could cause a lot of problems down along the way, making the blockchain huge or whatever. So I know with, again, Monero specifically, it's like, no, we can't do that. So I don't think Cake Wallet would ever promote that or enable that. But for other coins, then it kind of makes a little bit more sense.
So you're just protecting your baby.
It's one of those things where Monero exists and it has always existed to be a fungible asset. And so it's not exactly the best home for a non-fungible token.
Right. Yep.
But for other assets like Litecoin, where you have more block space and you're not as strict about trying to make every transaction look identical to each other, you have more options. And so it makes sense to me that you guys are running the Litecoin ordinals route. And it's something that there's been niche communities in the Bitcoin space that have been actually doing this for like a decade now, actually. They've often moved on to Ethereum and other stuff now, but they're kind of in the ordinals Bitcoin ordinals discussion still today to some extent as well.
Oh, is Mordinals? Is that the Monero ordinal?
Yeah, that's what that was the silly name for the Monero one.
Bordinals would be Bitcoin Bordinals. Lordinals. I kind of like Lordinals for Litecoin. We're the Lords.
That's a good one.
It's something that I think like right off the bat, I was like, I'm not sure how I feel about it. But the more, I'm a believer that this is, I have it up here. This is what I go through sometimes. Censorship resistance to me is like the number one quality that it has to be maintained. And like culturally, you can't say, well, I don't like these and therefore I don't think we should have them. I think it just goes against the entire concept of censorship resistance and, let it play out. I mean, if this is truly how people want to use it, I think we have to ride this out. Maybe we were, like I said earlier with the, was it the Trocador app? Like maybe you don't know what your customers are going to do with this yet. And I think we have all assumed that that Bitcoin and Litecoin are going to be this monetary digital cash asset. But what if we're wrong? What if the masses decide, no, I really like this as a place to store something as a forever time capsule? Then I'm not the one that gets to decide that, right? This is what the people get to decide who choose to use these things. So I don't know. I just think it's an interesting conversation. So I'm embracing it because you mentioned the development. I think seeing so many new faces coming in to experiment on Litecoin. I think there's a lot of, like you mentioned, Ethereum people that have migrated over to Bitcoin ordinals, and they're a lot less chain loyal than maybe some other people are in this space. And if they see another opportunity, say, hey, there's some development that can be done, and I can go do it on Litecoin at a thousandth of the cost. Let's go experiment. Let's tool around. Maybe we find something that functions better on a cheaper chain than trying to deal with $20 transaction fees. If that's what happens, is what happens, right? Best laid plans. Well, so Skylent, what were you? You were in the NFT world. Are you interested in these ordinals, or do you think that it's something that should just stay on Ethereum and you'd rather work on Ethereum?
I'm somebody who's really interested in like succeeding solved problems. So there's like certain solved puzzles or games, and then somebody comes around and is like, actually, you could do it totally different. And then it's, something people thought was solved. It's even better. And I feel like even in the case for Monero with its ordinals, where it's like overwhelming, the community's like, don't do it. It's kind of hard to do it. It's difficult. And so people doing it was a way of like, I don't know, it's kind of techie. It's kind of geeky. It's like, look, we can do it. It is possible. So I do overall appreciate the NFT technological stuff, but in the end, NFTs for the most part originally really were just links to images. They weren't like inscribed into the coin. And so now that that's happening, it's really techie and geeky and cool again. It might not work for everyone, every coin everywhere, but it's kind of exciting. And then that's just images. What's going to happen next, So
yeah, music and all that type of stuff. Yeah, it's almost like it can be a bit of a wild goose chase. Like I would imagine there will be scavenger hunts of sorts at some point in time. Like if you find such and such an ordinal, turn it in and you'll win a prize or something silly like that, right? Just makes you look in your wallet. There you go, cake wall. If you find a cake ordinal, you get Justin will send you a Trocador. I don't know. I'm just trying to.
I'll invoice you if you find it.
Yeah, I'll try to gamify. Well, you got to send an invoice for that specific ordinal. So can I send? That's the other question I got. I can't believe I'm talking about these things so much. If I select a specific one, and it has an ordinal on it, right? Then I can send somebody this ordinal. It's not going to get eaten up by fees. Or is that the part that we're still not sure about yet?
So, or my understanding of ordinals, and definitely double check all this stuff. But you generally need more complicated software to send ordinals if you don't want the fee to, as I understand, if you don't want the network fee for Litecoin coming from the specific ordinal inscription output. So if you want it to be paid for with some other output, then you can't do that in Cake. I think, and I would definitely try this on like an extremely unimportant ordinal that's tested and could be burnt in the Litecoin blockchain forever. But I believe if you are sending only one input, which is the ordinal input, and the input has enough Litecoin to pay for the network fee transaction, that it would count as transferring an ordinal. That's my understanding. It may be wrong. I'm definitely not an expert on ordinal NFT stuff. So,
all right.
That's my understanding of how it works.
I think even the people who are very experienced in them right now are saying, like, look, we're a long way from really usable technology, so tread lightly.
I mean, it's one of those things where the network doesn't care about you attaching this metadata to a transaction. It allows it. That's why this exists. To some people's perhaps disappointment, but it's there, right? To your point of the censorship resistance. They can't do anything about it. So the data is there, and that doesn't care that all this extra image data is attached. But it doesn't mean wallets are going to know what to do with it. And if you use a wallet that doesn't care about this data either, and you send it, it's just going to treat it like you're sending a normal Bitcoin transaction. It doesn't have a nice separate identifier or something like Ethereum. So there is always going to be an opportunity for people to like, oh no, I accidentally lost my ordinal type things. Those are going to happen. There's no way around. I mean, wallet software alone is not going to be enough of a safeguard to protect against that stuff.
Yeah, and it only really becomes important when you're talking about the monetization of it. Like if you're truly just saying, this is something I care about, it's a piece of a work of art and I want it to be on the blockchain, you can just inscribe it and be done. And who cares where it is? It'll still forever be there, but you just can't monetize it. Right. So maybe this is a leap into like recognizing that not everything has to be monetized all the time.
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
Maybe
if you want to put a nice little pretty picture in
do.
your cake wallet, you can do that. But if you were trying to like sell trading cards that were thousands of dollars each, take caution.
Yeah. I've definitely turned a corner. I mean, obviously having it on Litecoin has been helpful, and just in hearing some of the people talk about it, I'm really a believer that community and culture and like this, like humans are very, we're social animals, right? And so it's a big part of why people use different tools, and particularly these different monies that have developed this social layer that's it's very real. And NFTs have a very strong social connection for people that I maybe don't get yet, but I'm seeing why people are so invested, not only monetarily, but almost emotionally to them, because they do, we don't have as much social, I don't even know how to say it. There's very little social kind of people tying together in clubs in the physical world, right? So we're all very much digital social animals, I guess. So, all right, that's my, what would that be? Anthropological analysis of ordinals. But I think we covered pretty much everything I wanted to cover. I mean, obviously one of the things we didn't really cover was the swaps, which are in the wallet. I talk about that every week. You can move between these different assets. Has that changed in any way? Have you added assets, subtracted assets from that, or different partners or anything like that?
We're always adding assets because they come and go. But more or less it works the same way it has worked before.
Okay. And then, I pitched this to you. This may sound silly because I'm Litecoin Underground. Is Dogecoin next?
You can trade it in there. We haven't actually had a big discussion about storing it, although it wouldn't be the world's hardest thing to do. So we should. I'll chat with Vic about it.
One of the things, I'm all for interoperability. I think that's the end game, in my opinion. And Doge obviously is merge mined with Litecoin. It's a Nakamoto coin, has a lot of the same traits as Bitcoin and Litecoin. So if there's tools that can let these three communities work together, I think that's awesome. And Monero, obviously, I always talk about Monero as well. So just a thought, just a plug for my Doge people.
No, I think it's a good idea. It's a well-known asset.
It's not going anywhere. If we talk about the meme power and this, man, I'll tell you, I'm blown away by those people. So, all right.
No, for sure.
Anything else you guys want to plug, or just to close things out before or that you want to ask me about Litecoin?
The only thing I want to plug is that we are now on desktop. So Cake Wallet, same experience, supports Litecoin, but you can get it on your Mac OS computer for both M1 and Intel Macs. So old, new Mac, whatever it is, you can download Cake Wallet and it'll work really well. Same general user experience, just built for a bigger screen, a lot of the same features. And it's also for Linux. We added that this month. That's brand new. And so we're really, really excited about that as well. Not Windows yet. That one's going to take us some more work to actually get out for Windows. But we do want us to stop thinking about us as mobile-only wallets, because now we are on desktop. So hint, hint, we are also on desktop.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, go. I mean, honestly, like I use CakePay. I would say I'm using it once or twice a week. You know, I use it like on the weekends. I will go to the movies, or I used it at Home Depot last week, or AutoZone to buy some stuff. And I think the ease of it is what makes it so appealing. And that's why I kind of encourage people, you know, if we're only whatever, when I saw 2%, if we're 5% of transactions, great. But certainly without the Litecoin card out there, there's no reason you shouldn't be, you know, a couple transactions a week and boost those numbers, man. I'm pulling for it. We're going to see, just like Skylent is going to get the boost of the bull market. This is what's going to happen with Litecoin. After this video, numbers are skyrocketing. All right. So, well, anyway, so yeah, go check it out. You know, these guys, like I've mentioned before, met Justin at the Litecoin Summit, and haven't met Skylent in person, but Vic, great people. And I think that the ethos and the culture line up, and go check them out. Try Cake Wallet and Cake Pay.
Real quick, what have been the, you know, top 2 most important conversations in the Litecoin space in the last 5 months from the Twitter spaces you've been hosting?
Like what is real, like what's generated the most interest, you mean? Or do you think
not necessarily just
personally,
what's the most hyped, but what you think, okay, this is an important discussion we've had.
I do think the Ordinals thing, you know, it's funny, like this is just maybe me personally having to embrace it a bit. Like you mentioned Vic was like, there's no Monero wallet, so I need to build a Monero wallet. The reason I started this was I was like, there's no Litecoin podcast. Like that's crazy to me. There's a couple other guys that have started to do some stuff, but just to have the consistent spaces, like I do think we're kind of developing the culture of Litecoin in there. From the whatever 20, 30 people we consistently get. And the Ordinals thing, I do think is something that was a contentious topic. There's some people I know that are just like, this is garbage. I hate it. It shouldn't be a part of this. Is peer-to-peer digital cash. And why are we even bothering with this? So that's been, I think, an important conversation. I think we've moved past. For the most part, everybody's like, what are you going to do about it? Right. And so let's take the good out of it. Boy, outside of that, let me think about what we talk about. Last night I thought was very good. I'm still struggling with the cultural part and the identity part of Litecoin. I think I mentioned Doge. Doge has an identity of like, do only good every day, right? That's their thing. There's a fun, goofy culture around that. Monero's like the super private guys that are a little bit maximalist, Bitcoin maximalist, right? That tinge of like, we're not willing to sacrifice. Let me think about how to put that. We're the best coin, and there's no. I'm not willing to sacrifice anything to even talk about other things. Is that a good way of putting it? Because Monero has that a little bit. I get that from people in Monero sometimes, and it's like not everybody is you. You know, so I think of the Litecoin identity as to be, look, this is a multi-coin future. Let's embrace it. If somebody wants to use Monero because that's their preferred method of transacting, like I don't care. That's fine with me. To me, there's more important conversations to be had, but that's not an identity yet. We haven't really set that in stone. So that to me is something as Litecoin we have lacked. I think it's a very strong network as far as it's so available. You know, proof of work, it's stood the test of time. It never goes down. It works every single time. And that's really what's led to its place in crypto. But as far as being like, when people think of crypto, they don't think of Litecoin today. It's Bitcoin, Ethereum. And I do think the common person thinks of Dogecoin a long time before they think of Litecoin. And that's Elon, you know, I don't know. That's what the stuff that's on my mind. And maybe I'm just crazy and have nothing else to talk about.
No, I think it makes sense. Yeah, no, Litecoin's kind of interesting though, right? Because I mean, nobody talks about the sex appeal of dollar bills versus quarters or whatever, but like Litecoin might be those the quarters that you need to pull out every once in a while to play the arcade games or something. And I think it's really cool. There's all these different coins with different utilities. Some no utility, but it's a community. So there's that. I think maybe all these different coins can learn from each other, right?
Well, to me, the bridge is maybe one of the better places I see Litecoin taking, particularly, MWeb is a big part of that. So like people in Monero are going to feel a lot more comfortable. Oh shit, this company doesn't take Monero. You know what? I'm just going to move into Litecoin as opposed to Bitcoin because of the cost. And same thing with Bitcoin has a use case for Litecoin because of the speed and the cheaper costs. And then Doge and Litecoin are just tied because of the merge mining. And so there could be, again, there's places that don't accept Dogecoin. So maybe they don't want to flip into Bitcoin. They'd rather, I'll just use Litecoin because there's that connection with the mining and all that. So being that kind of asset that can tie various things together, I think is where Litecoin will fit because of its capacity and its speed. So it has actual utility for people. But I don't know if anybody, like you said, there's no loyalty to which dollar I use or which coin I use. So that's maybe why we're struggling with that, is we don't have who's going to be loyal to the thing that they just use. It's like, I'm not loyal to a glass of water. I just use it. Right. So, yeah, maybe that's part of it. Right.
Sorry, excuse me. I have a Hydro Flask here. Clearly loyal to the brand.
Yeah. Well, you're loyal to the container.
Yeah.
And
I pray to it every night.
In the fact that it stood its test of time without that like hodler mentality, I think is a testament to the future of Litecoin. That if there is ever that influx of I'm Litecoin, like myself, I don't use, like, Bitcoin to me is just an unnecessary inconvenience to me. I get all the same things I get out of Bitcoin in Litecoin as far as scarcity, and I can use it anywhere. So over time, people will make that migration. I think people will get tired of, I don't want to brag on Bitcoin. It's amazing, but the fees are just ridiculous. It's like no logical person would want to use that as an asset in their daily life. Anything over a nickel starts to be like, why am I paying over a nickel? Right. It's just how humans work. And so I hope that we're the currency between the digital currency that people use to move between the assets that they want. I think that's a great place for us. So there you go. You helped me out.
Yeah, keep digging into the identity, because it can't just be it's hard to get people's attention in a way that's sustainable. And Litecoin's a project that's been around for a while, so you're probably not going to get the drop in the bucket, get people for 2 seconds as the hype of the day. You're probably gonna have to focus on the sustainable aspect, and it's hard to bring people in and capture their attention and say, yeah, stay here, and there's fun, cool things going on here. So we definitely, I mean, that's the reason we at Cake support you, is because you are out there putting out consistent content, having a consistent place for a community to incubate, and trying to answer a lot of those questions, because I would love to know some of those answers myself as well, because it takes a lot of attention and time to focus on these things. So yep, that's why we're supportive of you and your spaces. Yeah. It takes a lot of work to do all that community building, and you just showed up and became one of the loudest names in the Litecoin space, actually. And it's important that people are consistently making the space available.
Yeah, I'm trying to build bridges. Rather than burn them down like some other people out there. So, all right. Well, yeah, maybe you guys gave me some clarity. I want to think about like catchphrases. I watched this. Did you see the thing? I'm going to be done after this, but we can cut it. But Steve Jobs had done it was like talking about how his marketing, you can't talk about the specifics. Like you can't talk about fees and block times and speed and all that crap. Most people don't care. They want to know, why am I using this? Like, why is this important? And that's what we have to identify. To me, the most important thing is like the self-custody and, kind of being your own, if you want to say, be your own bank, not relying on third parties, those types of things. But how do you say that in a way that's digestible for people outside of the crypto sphere? Be your own person, carve your own path, that type of catchphrase type of stuff, right? All right. I'm going to cut a lot of that out. But anyway, so thanks for coming in, guys. I appreciate it. Hopefully we'll have you again. Maybe once you have another update, or maybe someday we have some add-ons for what's going on with Litecoin, we'll have you back. But you're always welcome. And thanks for everything. Everybody have a good day. All right.
Thank you, Litecoin Underground.
All right. Bye, guys.